Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Lobster stream. Uh, it's good to have everybody here. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Las Vegas team tournament. We just got back from it. We actually finished fourth place. It was pretty awesome. We took a comp of Zinch Demons, Ultramarines, Tyranids, Drukhari, and Imperial Guard. And so our team, same as it usually is, with one new addition. We have Justin here, but I'm going to let the team go around and introduce themselves, starting with Jason. If you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Sure can.
Awesome. So yeah, I was playing Drukhari for this. Spectralist Bite has a lot of really fun tricks. We kind of were thinking that we would be running into a lot of infantry in the meta, and Spite has some good ways to deal with things. Everywhere from like objective play and stealing objectives to picking up infantry pretty quick, especially lower toughness infantry if someone's running a lot of it. So that was kind of the plan with the army. It went fairly well, not as well as maybe I had hoped in some games, but that is just to be expected sometimes when you are running teams. So all in all, great event. Really enjoyed it. Would definitely go back, and can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. Next up, Justin, would you like to go?
Sure. Justin Serrano. I'm the Demon player, Scintillating Legion for this matchup. First time with first 5-man tournament. I did one before 8-man, so great experience. Played Scintillating because it's just solid around the meta. There's good match. Most armies you can play it as a pushing diff, play it at blunter. They can play most rain play out. Especially my version going into the greater demon versus the chat. Overall,
you're cutting out a little bit there, Justin. If you might need to hold the mic a little closer. Just
okay.
a heads up.
Yeah, it could be the internet connection because I'm not at home. But yeah, the scintillating worked out well. Overall, I think pairings were well for me. I got some good matchups. Only a couple matchups that were in that yellow-green range, or the yellow range. So that's how it went, and excited to talk about it later.
Sure thing. Mike, tell us about yourself.
Hey, so I'm Mike. Kind of played the role of guard. My usual spot in the team is usually guard and or sisters. The idea with this being the new Grizzle detachment for guard is quite powerful. Something we expected to see a lot of in teams throughout the comp there. So we figured, it's up there in the meta. We probably want it on our team ourselves. Usually it can play into most things. It doesn't need to get monitored in pairings, which is a nice thing to have for the team comp. So I ran with Grizzled with the idea that I can kind of play into most matchups and give us a positive score back.
Absolutely. Larry, what about you?
Hey, I'm Larry. I was the captain for this event. I did the pairings for a lot of it. A lot of input from, of course, from everybody. And I play Tyranids. And why do I play Tyranids? Because that's all I play. But I think for teams, Tyranids work out pretty good because they can blunt a lot of matchups where they always score points, and they can also win big, as it turns out. So we can talk about that later. But yeah, it was a great event for me. I had to leave a little early. Fortunately, my last game ended early. But it was a lot of fun. So that's it.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely need to put you on a have a time commitment right after the event. That way we can just have you get that easy 20-0 and run out the door. We'll talk about that more when we get to our breakdown of the round by round. But in the meantime, hello, I am Dusty. Dusty Zelif. I play Marines. I play a lot of things, but Ultramarines have been so good for so long that I kind of have just kept playing them. It's one of those situations of I would usually pivot an army by now, but I keep playing Marines and I just keep winning games, and it just why stop? Marines are disgustingly strong. They were probably the best army in the game at the Las Vegas team tournament. The rules lock was before the nerf to Victrix Guard. So, of course, I ran 15 of them. And yeah, almost every team there had some form of Ultramarines. I was the one for us, and so it was quite good. The list obviously performed extremely well. I was a lot of times the one who played into Imperial Guard, which is the other big strong list in the meta, and getting that matchup is very much a coin flip of who gets to pick the mission. A lot of the time, I was in the last pairing and just rolling a dice for that. That was me. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our composition as a whole. In building our comp, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, our primary focus was to play armies that we enjoyed. We didn't really tell anybody, hey, we need to have this army, right? We played the best army of the ones that we enjoyed playing. And when it came to pairings, Larry, how did you feel? Do you feel like we need to make some changes, or do you feel like our comp covered itself pretty well and was able to be a good force in pairings?
We did have a couple weaknesses, but also this event is rather unique because the NTL is not going to be using this format again. And what I mean by that is this event had a format where there was 2 different mission options per round, which is normal. But then they changed what could be layout 1 missions every single round, and they're not going to do that again, fortunately. So going into this, I felt like we just all had to take all comer lists. We couldn't do the normal teams thing where we have someone focus on layout 8, for example, because layout 8 could be purge on one round and then completely changes to possibly supply drop on the next. So team comp wise, it was a little challenging to do pairings every single round because I couldn't just use the same strategy every time.
Mm-hmm. I think also, and again, you guys can correct me if you disagree, but attackers had a pretty significant advantage in pairings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With the constant shifting of the missions, the layouts mattered a lot less than they normally do. Of course, we're playing GW layouts, so none of them are super open or super closed. They're actually mostly very balanced layouts, especially when you're only playing a single deployment zone on each of them, which is how it usually went down. Which meant, if being able to choose, for instance, one that came up a lot was hidden supplies versus purge the foe. Hidden supplies makes extra objectives. Purge the foe doesn't care about holding objectives at all, or hardly at all. So being able to say, hey, I'm an attacker list, I would really much prefer to play purge the foe, and forcing your opponent into a good mission for you was really powerful at this tournament. In fact, the only round we lost, we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go through round by round. I think that was one thing they did better than us, was get their attackers onto missions that their attackers wanted, specifically. And we can talk about that when we get there. But anything else we want to say about our comp overall? Anything we would change? Any thoughts on our individual lists, if we would change them to be better adapted as part of the team? For me, I'll lead us off with just, I think, hey, Ultramarines are still great. Victrix aren't going anywhere. They're still an insane unit. I'll probably pivot to a bit more of a shooting heavy list than a melee heavy list, but Victrix are still absolutely insane.
Okay, well, yeah. For us, like Jason and I were talking, we're probably going to be moving off of Drakari for 5s, just because it's really hard to get them to get the good matchup that you want them to get. And then when layout also becomes an issue and the mission becomes an issue, like you don't want them to have purge the foe. They just can't have purge the foe. Mm-hmm. It can be really rough.
Yeah, there were a lot of lose conditions for T3 army, or tie conditions, I guess I should say. Not necessarily a guaranteed loss, but it's like, okay, this is an uphill battle for me. I'm really gonna have to kind of scrape this out. Whereas things that are a little more durable in the meta, especially into 5s, which I feel as though Jukari has enough bad matchups that you could be staring down the barrel of 3 bad matchups. Not without them taking super weird choices as armies. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think Guard will stay. Oh,
No, you keep going.
yeah, I think Guard will stay a pretty good spot in the team comp. Unless they get like 400 points in nerfs, which Grizzle does do some, but I think in general, Guard's tanks are reliable. They're durable. They're usually relatively cheap. I think Guard will always have a place on a team. Barring GW giving them the absolute nerf hammer, which I expect some, but I don't think it's enough that we completely have to shift from them. I think they provide a lot for the team right now. They can build kind of like Lennon's list where he ran 18 Bullgren and 20 or 10 horses, or you had the 3 Dorns, which was kind of the comp I had taken. So I think at least comp wise and what we have in terms of what we play with, I think guards still have a role. What about you, Justin? What do you think about the scintillating
about demons? So I mean, right now, demons have multiple play styles. I mean, I played scintillating. Scintillating is kind of the flavor of the month, and it will likely be that until they make some type of change, whether it's some type of nurse puppeteer, points reduction, a change to the Lord of Change's damage, just like multiple variables to adjust that list. But if we're thinking about demons as a whole, like incursion, I'm a specialist for incursion. I think there's always play there. As we will talk about later, we actually ran into Plague Legion. There's always Shadow. There's just multiple variations for which demons play. I think they're solid stat check army, and they can actually be run all or wide. And so for me, I think there's almost always a place in tournaments for them at this point. We kind of saw it at this event. Yes, there's the assumption you'd see multiple scintillating, but you saw just as many other variations, even some Shadow Legion go wide. So I'm happy with how the list went, happy with how the army worked, and I think no matter what happens, there will be a play style for demons that we can actually use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, unless scintillating gets nerfed, unless it gets nerfed, I think that damage 3 profile on all of those big dudes is really good in the meta right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that damage 3 profile just straightened it out. Before, bring Lord of Change, the only time you'd ever see him was generally in Demonic Incursion, 24-inch range, extra strength, all this stuff. But he would likely kill like a Predator. That was pretty normal. Bump his AP, ignore cover, sustain D3, whatever you needed. Predator. You need to kill 5 Marines. Probably don't kill him because of the D3. Math gets super wonky. The lower save, it's really tough to actually kill them. And now they just guarantee they kill elite bodies, which elite bodies are all over the place. And now the change of Vitrix. Vitrix was the boogeyman. It took like 2 to 3 big chickens to kill 1 blob. Now 1 chicken can kill the entire thing. It's a real damage threat.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. I think it's extremely good and good in singles. So you can play pretty much the same lists, and you're going to see it all over the place.
We have a question in chat from Crop Cloth asking if Dusty will move away from Victrix. I addressed this briefly, but the answer is no. Victrix has more counters now, like Justin was saying. Scintillating goes from, a game that you have to play, but a very winnable one, to one that now you have to be real careful if you're running that Victrix spam list. That said, I don't think we're going to keep running a Victrix spam list for Ultramarines. We have a few lists in mind, but just moving to more guns with Redemptors, Repulsor Executioners, maybe 1 squad of Victrix.
You're gonna use Dreadnoughts.
Oh, what's that?
I said, you're gonna use Dreadnoughts again?
I think I'm going to use Dreadnoughts again. We might break out the Redemptors. Redemptors are really good into chickens, especially in Blades of Ultramar. And into Custodes as well, which is a list we haven't talked about yet, but I think we're going to today. But Blades of Ultramar will probably be the pivot. If you're running only one squad of Victrix, you don't need the Fight on Death anywhere nearly as much. And -1 to wound with a bunch of T12, T11 vehicles is really, really good. Shockingly. So, yeah, so that's our thoughts on the list. Next thing we're going to talk about, guys, let's talk about the event itself. So just really briefly, brief overview of the event. This was in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, hosted by Away Games and Frontline Gaming. Big thanks to the TOs. They did an amazing job setting up this huge teams tournament.
And NTL.
Yeah, and NTL, the National Tabletop League. They set up this huge teams tournament. I think, 270 people in this...
It's 53 teams, so whatever that math outs to.
265.
Yeah, I think one team dropped.
So, yes, one team did drop. 265 people in this event. They did a fantastic job. They even had Chick-fil-A for us the first day. Only Jason and Larry got Chick-fil-A, though. The rest of us took too long to finish our games. How dare you? But the event was awesome. We saw some shows in Vegas. We did a little bit of gambling. Nobody won any money. Unless you did, Larry. Did you win any money?
Only at first, and then I lost it all. Don't worry about it.
Same. I think we all had a very similar story, except Mike, who didn't gamble at all. Proud of you. And so we had a really great time at the event, and I want to talk about our opponents and the rounds we had. We had 5 great rounds. They were all extremely fun, and we're going to go through them one at a time here. So I'm going to go ahead and move us over the other beautiful little stream here, everybody. So this is our round 1. We're up against the Las Vegas Mind Goblins, Bofa. Larry, if you have the pairings up in front of you, do you want to walk us through how we did this and what our strategy was?
Yep, pulling up now. Okay. So we played against, let's see, it was Space Marines, Death Guard. The Space Marines, by the way, were Salamanders. They were not Ultramarines.
We actually played against Salamanders twice, which is really interesting.
We did. And yeah. Anyway, Salamanders, Death Guard, League of Votann, Necrons, Chaos Demons. Going into this, we felt pretty confident. However, this team had an interesting skew, I would say, because the Chaos Demons were the plague one that does a lot of battle shocks.
Yes.
And then League of Votann, I think, also does a lot of battle shocks.
Mm-hmm.
And Death Guard were doing a lot of battle shocks, right?
And the Necrons as well were built to do a ton of battle shocks. They had all the characters that do battle shock, all the little things that do battle shock.
Yeah, so I don't think we really realized that until we started playing the games, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, this is a thing. But going into it, our thought process was, well, we need to make sure that Drakari gets a good table here. We want layout 1 or layout 8. So that was like, all right, I think Drakari are going to be first defender. There's not a whole lot of bad matchups, we didn't think. But it turns out Necrons actually is an awful matchup, but we'll get to that later.
Our big thing was...
we started out with Drakari.
Yes, and we also had two that we knew that he couldn't play into. The Salamanders had a million flamers, and there was absolutely no way he was ever killing the triple Great Unclean One Nurgle with.
Yeah, so I figured we were just kind of hoping to get the demons and then we'll try to blunt them. So Drakari had a lot of rough pairings here. This is back to where we were talking about, like, maybe we shouldn't take Drakari to 5s. So he ended up on layout 1 versus Necrons. We attacked, they defended with Plague Legion, and we attacked them with Astra Miltrum, and I don't recall who else we attacked with.
In this round, we attacked... Who did they defend with, if I remember right?
Demons.
Demons. They defended with demons. I don't believe we attacked with me. We might have.
I think maybe it was me. It might have been Tyranids.
Yeah.
So it was Tyranids and Astromilterm. And we knew that plague detachment does a lot of battle shocks, and so I figured, well, Tyranids, I have a lot of synapse, I should be able to find. I can kill great unclean ones. So they did take Mike's Astromilterm. So our logic going into that was just, all right, let's get Drakari onto a favorable table to try and blunt somebody, and then let's get a decent matchup into Chaos Demons, and then go from there. So Mike, how did your game go with layout 4? Because I think they picked layout 4, you picked Scorch Earth. Was that a good game? What did you think?
So that game was the classic game of when one thing goes wrong, it just starts to kind of snowball. So it's a matchup where I knew going in, I couldn't shoot downfield because he had an 18-inch lone up aura. I knew I really wanted to push him out because once all of his Nurgle demons get within 9 of me, he can force those battle shock tests and force them as if I'm in Shadow to Chaos. So I'm at a -1, and I'm taking mortal wounds when I fail. Plus, he has 2 shooting platforms that shoot me, trigger a battle shock test again at a -1, sometimes a -2, take mortal wounds. I knew it was a match where I really wanted to get space, so that way the things that were taking this were like my chimeras and not my Dorns, or any like the good stuff. But he went first and was able to get Nurglings, get some shooting lanes, and just take a whole turn of movement. And then by turn 2, I had the Great Unclean Ones in the middle, and he's forcing a ton of battle shocks. I am failing battle shocks left and right, which is really bad for guard because you lose your orders, which means I lose my army rule. I have no rerolls of any kind. I didn't really need them for retroactive strats like AOC because he wasn't shooting me with anything. It was more so I could never snap to it to get orders. I couldn't benefit from my rerolls, and essentially, he just fell downhill. He was able to just get into my lines. He was the Great Unclean Ones were essentially immune. All my guns, even on the Dorns, were wounding his big demons on 5s. When I was even able to get shot, and then he was making 10-inch moving plague bears touching me. So the game got out of hand pretty quickly. Couldn't do the damage. His stuff was reviving. My stuff was battle shocking. I couldn't hold objectives. And effectively, he was able to just walk down my army very methodically. Whenever he got into the Dorn, suddenly my T12 Dorn was toughness 10, which means he's wounding me on 4s with his big guys at -2 or 3 AP, D6 +2 damage. With lethal hits. Like suddenly I couldn't stand up to his slow moving monsters, and that was kind of that game. Lessons learned. Kind of underestimated what they did. Never really playing into Plague Legion like that. Now I know that for that team, they saw it as a big win for them because they knew that was kind of their counter to guard.
Gotcha.
So when they got that pairing, they were happy on that end. We
Yeah.
kind of not knowing how it worked too well was a bit of a shock, and like I didn't expect to get 20 out. I thought I would get some points here and there. I think if I went first, I'd get that space and protect myself, but unfortunately, that didn't happen.
I
And
was expecting that to be kind of a 10-10 matchup. I think is what we had.
yeah, he was able to push his advantage very quickly because he understood what he needed to do and executed.
Yep. So that was unfortunate. However, it did get that lift plus Necrons off the board, and then Jason into Drakari into Necrons. Talk about that briefly. It was really rough, right?
Yeah, this was a rough one. So he went first and sprinted a Satan to my expansion because he had the teleporting Satan, and then moved 2 Wraith bricks, just touching the other 2 objectives. So I was already on my back foot because I really wasn't able to prevent any of his movement. Not that I was really going to be able to because his wraiths fly, right? So I wasn't going to be able to do too much move blocking, but I could have done some if I went first. Going second there, I was like, okay. Looking at my army, looking at his army, I go, okay, what kills what? And I go, oh, okay, this is going to be an uphill battle. So because I have Haywire and he's not vehicles. I have so I have 1 unit of Dark Lances. I still shot all the Haywire every turn just because Dev wounds are Dev wounds, and popping 1 is great, but I also didn't want to give him a whole bunch of like, oh, well, I'm reviving and I'm going to put more OC on the objective when I revive. So the thought process was kind of like steal, don't kill. Except for the Satan Shard. I was like, I can't let that thing run wild in my backfield. At this point in the game, I was kind of expecting him to continue to push those models like forward and kind of drive me back. So I made some plays to go and attack the Satan. I stole 2 objectives because he didn't have a lot of OC on him. He only put like 4 on each objective, and then my expansion, which had the stand. So I was like, okay, so I make a play at that. Hopefully, I can drop him. Probably not. I just steal it, and then everything works out. I hold him on primary, and we move forward in the game. Then is when I learned he had the battle shocking 3 battle shocking characters that just point at you without line of sight and force battle shock tests. So my 5 little witchman units were like, oh no.
Does that go off in his command phase?
And it goes off in my command phase.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is simply the command phase.
So yeah,
The
he
unit
was
he's
just
talking about is a Psychomancer.
yes.
So he was waiting till my command phase, pointing at me, forcing battle shocks. Luckily, I passed half of them for turn 2 and turn 3. So I held him to a 10 on 2 and 3. But then after that, the Satan was still alive because I just didn't have the firepower to drop it
because it's a
quickly because it's a Satan. And Dark
And you were
Lance's
playing
whiff.
take and hold, so he was able to pull back a lot of points at the end.
Yeah, so he scored 15 on 4 and 5. I did score 5 all game. I scored 53, which brought in the very, very important 1 point.
It was.
It was. Every point's important in teams. So I just scored my 1 and I brought home that W.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know in chat, in teams, if the differential score between the 2 teams is 10 points or less, then essentially it's a tie. Or not essentially, it is a tie. So in this case, that 1 point Jason got took us from a 55-45, which would be a tie, to a 56-44, which gave us the win.
Cropped has a question. Do y'all think it's better for everyone to play all-rounder lists or have people tech into stuff for specific matchups? In this tournament, we did kind of go for all-rounder lists. We had a couple of skews, but in general, for most team events, we want to either everyone skews one thing. Like you could have an entire team skew into all big stuff or all horde lists, or you have specific team members target a list that you know is going to be there. For example, we knew this team that we played against knew Astra Military was going to be out there. They had list tech to build to fight that, and we just didn't realize that when we were looking at the lists that that's what they had. So yes, it is better to tech specifically to what you know the meta is going to be. However, it is also fine to do an all take all comers lists.
Yeah, I will say the
Just
top,
depends.
all of the top 5, actually, I think all the way down to the top 10, mostly ran take all comers list. One of the big things in 5s, you only have 5 armies, so that gives you a little bit less wiggle room, right? Because if we look at the meta and we go, all right, what are the top 5 armies? It's Guard, Marines, Scintillating, and then we maybe missed the read on Drukari, with Custodes probably being the number 4 there. And then when Larry's playing Tyranids, they're absolutely top 5. And that was kind of our read of just going, we're just going to take the best 5 armies that we can, that we know how to play. Because in 5s, that's what you do. The way I like to think of it is you either have to be the best or you need to reliably beat the best, right? And so if you have an army, for instance, like those guys did it with their guard counters, they said, we're not going to be bad into other things, but these lists will beat guard, and that was their goal. They were like, we're going to make sure we
And
always get a win off of guard.
They did it. They
Right.
got 20-0 against guard.
Yeah.
They beat guard.
But with Necrons and demons out of the way, and with Jason and Mike eating those grenades for us, the other three matchups I think were really good for us.
Oh yeah.
Because it was Votan versus Space Marines, Death Guard versus demons, and then Salamanders versus Tyranids. My Tyranid list has a lot of monsters. Salamanders have a lot of flamers. Guess what doesn't care about flamers? A lot of monsters. So, how was your game, Dusty, against Votan?
Votan really, really dislike 2-up saves with Armor of Contempt. Their highest
Yeah.
AP things are AP3. Watching I think it was 2 Hecaton Land Fortresses shoot at a Victrix Guard squad in cover and killing a guy is I feel his pain, right? And they thought that was a good matchup for the Votan because they look at the Hecatons and go like, oh, this does 4 damage at AP3. Unfortunately, it is still just AP3, and
And you
that
can
was
turn
pretty
that
much
into a 3-up save.
AP2. I have cover, 3-up save. Yeah, it's brutal, and unfortunately, the Votan.
Did he not have Thunderkin
He
to
did.
strip the cover?
He
Okay.
did at the start of the game. They didn't last that long.
enough.
Because essentially the way that game went is I just spent 3 turns of ramming Victrix Guard right into the middle of his army and saying, you can't deal with this. And he could not, in fact, deal with that.
Yeah.
Victrix Guard are a hammer, so every other army is a nail.
And which detachment was he?
He was the index detachment with the name that I can't say. It's
What's the rule on that one? I don't remember.
index detachment just means they get more yield points when they kill stuff.
Okay, that one. Yeah. So he wants to have 7 yield points. That means being on objectives, and you were just like, you're not going to get on these objectives.
I didn't even let him leave his deployment zone.
Yeah. So
I ended up going first. I scouted Cato Sicarius directly into his deployment. It was on search and destroy. So I scouted Cato Sicarius straight ahead, hit a charge onto his land fortress, killed a land fortress turn 1, and then left 7 very manly men sitting in the middle of his entire army. And Cato Sicarius has a flat 6-inch reactive move, so I basically told him, if you move, I am going to go stand in front of the thing that moved. And
yeah, that'll do.
And he basically spent a whole turn just not moving, trying to kill them. He did manage to kill them with his entire army, but then the second squad hit, and so on and so forth. And he didn't leave his deployment zone until he was almost tabled.
So, Justin, you ended up against Death Card with your Scintillating Legion. Looks like you guys ended up on Purge the Foe. I assume he picked that, right? I think you were Defender. Or maybe, no, wait, you wouldn't pick that.
No, I actually picked that.
Yeah, you picked that. Okay.
So he was. This is one of my many games on Layout 8. I was like the Layout 8 champion because I was trying to steal it away because Army can play on it. So I actually had this matchup as a tie to a loss based on his army because he was already Dash Shroud, Lord of Contagion, some Blight Drones, Bringers, and then some Blight Haulers, just like that package that's tough to kill, elite, hit hard, and they can make all my chickens T9 and just kind of destroy. Like a Lord of Contagion moves me on 2. So things can get terrible real quick. What happened is I went first, and I put some screamers up. People that don't know, scintillating with one of the enhancements allows me to shoot through another unit within 9, and so I effectively was able to stay behind and cover. Of course, 18-inch loan op, and I shot and killed a blow drone, turn 1 in his deployment zone. And so there's 3 screamers sitting in nowhere, not really doing anything, but they allowed me to kill a blight drone. Positive trade. And then I get kill, and he'll kill mine. Well, on the crackback, I was expecting him to throw Morty in the middle, throw the Demon Prince in the middle, just kind of stat check me, make me have to deal with it. Then on his turn, the Death Shroud, and then I need to figure out a way to screen them. My list does not run many trash. I have 6 trash pieces of 5 greater demons. It turns into this fun puzzle. And instead, kind of just threw a little thing at me. Only shot 2 things into the screamers and didn't kill them. It was just
So,
he did.
well, I just want to point out here is Justin put this as a tie. What I noticed about Justin whenever he's putting in the matrix of what he thinks his score is going to be, it's always lowballing it because he assumes everyone he plays is as good as he is, and that's just not the case. So
Yeah.
whenever we weren't playing like Art of War or something, I was just like, all right, whatever number he gives me, I'm just going to add 2 to it.
Yeah, I would tell. I noticed it after. Tell Larry a score, and then I look at the matrix, and it was higher than what I said. The only time I was accurate was against our loss because it was a good team. That was the only time. Everything else, it was wildly too conservative. So but that's kind of how the game went. It first turn kind of set the pace where he didn't pressure me. That allowed me to stage, to get good secondaries, to get some primary play. And the only place I allowed him to deep strike was behind my plague bearers on my home, which I don't care if you want to third plague the shroud there. And he did. He failed his 6-inch rerollable, and the game was over round 2. And that was kind of it. It's just I killed I killed a death shroud. I killed most of his trash. I one tapped Morty between all my shooting and melee. He didn't have enough to kill me, and that was by round 3. He didn't have. Had to cleanse an objective with death shroud. So
Yeah.
it's just that kind of game where I out pressured him, and that's how it works. Which scintillating can do as a tricky arm to play around. Things just kind of went my way. The dice were average, and so they worked the way they should have. If things went a little sideways and Morty didn't die when he should have, the game could have become a real problem. Could have lost this diff and potentially come to a draw in this matchup.
Mm-hmm. And I should say too, we did have some pretty good dice luck in my game as well. A lot of respect to Cody, despite it not being a great matchup. He didn't fail 5 or 6 sub 5-inch charges. It's probably looking at more of a 16-4, 15-5 kind of game, but he just could not make a charge to save his life. And it was painful to watch. So these guys were a very good team. I think they gave us. Our last round opponents were very, very good too, but I think this gave us the most trouble, and this is the closest we came to dropping a round.
Except for the round that we dropped.
Yeah.
Yes, except for the round that we did lose, and we'll talk about that next. I'm going to take us over to that. So in round 2, we played against wonderful people. This is the round we lost. We played against Zugzwang USA. That is Durante Bazzini's team, one of the best Tau players in the world. Everyone on their team are all excellent players. And yeah, they played a really, really good round. So let's talk about it pairings-wise here.
So let's see. I got this backwards, don't I? Yeah. Okay. So in this pairing, we, every single time, every single round, I had to look at what missions were available in different layouts. And in this one, I knew I wanted some of our less good matchups to be attackers. And so I decided to put out Astra Military as a defender first. To try and make sure he got an open layout that he wanted, and to give some of our other matchups, the choice of mission. So we put out Astra Militarum. I don't remember what exactly they put into you, Mike. I think it was definitely Tau because that's what he ended up fighting. But I think the other one might have been Thousand Suns or Astra Militarum. No, I think it was Astra Militarum because they had an Astra Militarum list that did a whole lot of mortals, if I remember right, and it was designed to fight another Astra Militarum list. That's what it was.
That was a different
another?
round. That was
a
another
different round.
This
Isaac
was
was
all multiple vanquishers.
yes.
Would have
Isaac
been
was
a real
running a
problem.
very, very, very strong list of lots of vanquishers, lots of tanks.
Well, then I think he put either Thousand Suns or Adeptus Mechanicus into him. I'm not sure, but we chose the Tau because we wanted Tau off the board. A lot of us had bad matchups in the Tau. But then they put
I'm
out Space Marines,
no,
or was it
I'm
the other way around? Did we
other way
defend with
around.
Drakari?
We defended with
Sorry,
Drakari. No,
I can't
it's all
remember.
right. They defended with Tau, and again, talking to them after this, it was just because Tau really wants its board choice, right? He's
That's
running
what it was. They
a
wanted the
Tau
board choice.
list with
Okay.
a million guns, right? He wants to pick an open layout, which is exactly what he did. And we defended
Yeah.
Drakari.
We defend Drakari. I guess this is one of the rounds where layout 8 and 1 were both okay.
Mhm.
Because every single round I have to look at 1 and 8 and go, all right, does one of these have Purge the Foe? If so,
Yeah.
then we can't defend with Drakari. So in this one, I guess it was fine, and he ended up on layout 8, which is, as good as we can get for Drakari. And then we must attack Tau. What did we attack Tau with? Astral Term and what?
I
I
think
believe
you, Larry.
Was it me? Okay. Yeah,
might
and
have
they
been
chose
it.
not me, so.
It was either you or demons. I don't remember which, but yes.
Yeah. And they attacked with Space Marines and probably like Astral Term or something.
I think it
We chose
was.
Space Marines.
Yeah, we chose the Space Marines. I think it was. Might have been Admech. I think it might have been T-Suns. But either way, the Drakari don't have any great matchups here. I think that was.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate. Like, we thought we were going to see a lot more better matchups for Drakari, but it was just seemed like everything was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this game, it was bad. This was bad. The person I was playing against really didn't want their repulsors to get deadified, so they just decided to play without them. Unfortunately, the repulsors aren't the problem against 18 Vitrix for me. It's the 18 Vitrix that are the problem for the 18 Vitrix list for me. They actually didn't play as aggressive as I had expected them to play. It didn't matter because I could not go and contest any of their objectives. The ability to charge into them in their movement phase was not very useful because they just don't care. they just don't care if 5 or 10 witches charges into them. And then with the blood surge and the reactive move, it's really kind of like, well, all right, am I better off just not interacting with you? So I did attempt to kill a unit at one point. Lilith dropped 5 Vitrix in one turn, and then proceeded to just get mopped. And everything was just bouncing left and right. Not a lot of play I could do into the 2-up AOC. So yeah, that was a rough game.
Yeah. How was it in Tau, Mike?
It was a great time. Durante, lovely opponent. He was a blast. This is a case of the power of second turn. I got first, was able to push out and just take board space, and the game was tied going at the bottom of 5, where somebody scored 15 primary, got 10 points on secondaries, and then it became the differential that it became. But the game itself was fun. Tau to shoot well. I had a moment to try to pick up a Riptide and swing a side of the board, and then the Riptide didn't fail a single 4-up invul. So my entire Rogal Dorn battle tank, plus the backup Dorn's long range gun, did all 3 wounds to his Riptide. And he ended up hurting his Riptides more than I did, was kind of the story of that game. But the match itself was fun. I was able to bring home 5 points, I guess, get us some differential. So keep it from being a major loss. But Durante was an excellent player, and it really just came down to he has a lot of things, and because I went triple Dorn, he had more things than I did. And bottom of turn, I couldn't stop him from just jumping on everything and scoring 25 points. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it was fun.
All right. Well, so going into the scrum, we had Demons, Tyranids, and Ultramarines versus Thousand Suns, Adeptus Mechanicus, and Astra Militum. Now, we put out Demons as defender. I think we were trying to avoid a particular matchup with that. Were we trying to avoid Astra Militum? Does that sound right?
Yeah, the Astro Militara matchup is volatile because of the hull spam.
Right.
You know, a
Yeah, you
Vanquisher.
put that as a 6, so that was definitely what we were trying to avoid. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, no, that one had the potential to be quite bad because of it would just be negative trades entire
Yeah.
game.
So we wanted to make sure you avoided that, and then they defended with Adeptus Mechanicus. So then they obviously were attacking with Astral Military of 1,000 Suns, so you had to take 1,000 Suns. Which you had down as a 12, or you probably said 10, and I put 12. uh, did that end
I
up
think
being
this
a 10?
Yeah, ended up being a 12 on this one. Yeah,
Oh, that was accurate.
yeah, it was right. It was great. The opponent was super fun. A great guy. One of my most enjoyable opponents, but one of the least enjoyable matchups because of anything that happened during the game. It's because of how the two armies interact with each other. So it's those 30 Scarab Cult Terminators on Rookie Phalanx, a couple trash units, and 5 Greater Demons with a couple trash units. We both hit each other a bunch. Someone dies faster, and they win the game. That is the entire matchup. It was a short match because we knew exactly what to do. Did make one smart play turn 1. So Suns have they take Arm and they get redeploys and they have an infiltrating brick of T-Sun haters. He actually threw them near my expansion layout 2 because if he did that, he could have them double move, shoot some garbage, kill maybe 1 to 2 trash units, and put some damage on a chicken. I have to deal with that in my back. I think it was smart. It's probably the way that keeps it to a 10, and that's likely what would have happened. But I went first, and the way I set up my army, assuming that he might do that, I was able to hit him with 2 or 3 chickens. I can't remember. I think it might have been 3, and I brought that unit of 10 down to 3 or 4 with the character. At that point, it no longer matter because I can just kill them the next turn. The rest of his army was he had to keep the T-Suns on the board. If you keep them in the air, the occult terminators in the air can teleport around the map, push him into his deployment zone, and then run away. They'll never make it anywhere and the game's over. He played it correctly, but it was just I'd trade a little thing for his little thing. I shoot my big birds with the bricks. I would basically put a chicken forward, shoot a brick, and Bellacor's 18-inch loan up. Only one unit could attack that mattered. Get that chicken low, teleport it up, put another one to where that one was, and rinse and repeat. My chickens were all getting to life, but they were healing because of the battle shock, holding primary. They were doing actions, they were killing things, and just used to die while staying on those low wounds. And then we just did this dance until my round 5. I was top of turn, and I tabled him top of, so that I could keep the game where it was at. But it's a tough matchup for T Suns. I cannot push diff though. This is not if anyone plays this matchup, not push diff because it can get very volatile. Play it safe. You bring things down. Very boring, very cookie cutter, but it gets the
And
win,
a
so it
fast
worked.
game, apparently. So, yeah. All right. So then the other matchup, Tyranids versus Adeptus Mechanicus, that ended up on layout 1. So I had a choice between Purge of the Foe and Hidden Supplies. If anyone knows Adeptus Mechanicus, I think Hidden Supplies is a bad option for me, so I chose Purge of the Foe. He had 3 units of Infiltrators, 2 units of the Flying Skystalker things, 1 unit of Rust Stalkers, Transport, some Rangers, but he only had 1 unit of 3 of the Las Cannon Chickens, and then 1 Breacher unit, Cataphrone Breacher unit, and 1 of the other Cataphrone unit, whose name eludes me. But it was Floof was a great opponent. He's also really fun. And with Purge the Foe, I think I went first. Let me double check.
I could check that for you.
Yes, I did go first. So ideally in Purge the Foe, you don't want to be going first. You want to be going second. So I decided, okay, well, through that deployment, I know he's going to use infiltrators to try and push me out, and I cannot allow that. I'm playing subterranean assault. I need to make sure I have space. So I waited for him to put out his infiltrators, and I used my Von Ryan Leapers to try and block as much space as possible. I think I even put them on one of the objectives just because I'm like, all right, I'll give up O4s and a kill just to give me space. And then when he put out infiltrators on layout 1 behind my L, essentially on the opposite side of my L, I put my acid effects on the line on the left side, aiming right at those infiltrators. I'm like, if they move, they're dying. That worked out really well. So I went up and going first. I just move on to the objective, flame those guys. I move other terrain effects on objectives because he only has one unit of chicken walkers. I'm like, I could disrespect the shooting and just get on the objectives and force him to come out. And that's where I want him. Turns out, yeah, with only one unit of chickens, he doesn't have enough to kill a T-Fex. And he had breachers, I think, in reserves. So, like, he couldn't kill any of them. And I ended up tabling him by turn 4 and getting a 19-1. So, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then, Dusty, you had a game against Asher Milton.
I did. So again, keeping the theme, Isaac was a fantastic opponent, really great player. This was the coin flip game. So the way in fives, the way the scrum works, because there's obviously an odd number of teams, the last round of pairings, you roll off in the beginning, then you alternate picking tables, but functionally the last 2 tables are chosen by the 4th pick because there's only 2 left. They decide which armies play where. I don't think this should be a roll-off, but then you roll off for the 5th pairing to see who chooses mission. This was an extremely mission-dependent table. So it was Purge the Foe or Terraform. We both had the exact same thing in our matrix, which was 12-8, it's volatile, and who is it a 12-8 for? Whoever wins the roll-off. And so Isaac won the roll-off and he picked Terraform. The game went about exactly as you'd expect from there. I went first. I terraformed one thing. Then he shoved 3 Toroxes and 30 Kazarkin onto the front 3 objectives, terraformed all 3, killed off my trash units that I used to terraform at the beginning, and then I ended up tabling him, but was down 20 points of primary from terraform alone, because with Ultramarines you have a ton of damage, but you're so elite you just can't do actions, and that was really the deciding factor in the game. Was he just terraformed
I think we
everything?
lost both roll-offs this round.
We did. We did lose both roll-offs.
Yeah. Awesome.
And whereas if I'm playing Purge the Foe into that list, I have a fantastic matchup where it could be a 15-5 going the other way. And in terms of gameplay-wise, unfortunately, me going first there as well really puts me on the back foot of I can't just sit back and wait for him to come out. I have to spend a trash unit to start the action sequence. Otherwise, he'll just wait it out and just win because he's going second. And yep. But again, great round. These guys were fantastic opponents. Would love to play them anytime again.
Yeah. They ended up going 4-0 before they faced Art of War, which then pushed them all the way back to like 6, I think. But they had a good run.
It dropped them down a lot. They definitely would have finished higher than us if not for playing Art of War in the last round. And so let's go ahead and move on to round 3, which we're not going to spend as much time on. Big shout out to Waffle Hammer Heroes. We love you guys. You were a blast to play against.
Lobsters.
They were wonderfully casual folks from Arizona, I believe is where they were from. Absolutely fantastic time. But I'm not going to take too long talking about this. We scored 98 and they scored 2. We drank lots of beer together, which was fantastic. Let's go ahead and go on to round 4. In round 4, we played Team Zero Competence. This is one of the Frontline Gaming teams, I believe, right? That was there. There were several of Team Zero Comp, Team Zero Competence, Team Zero Competitive.
I honestly didn't know they were FLG, but okay.
I think that's who they're with, but there was a bunch of Team Zero Comps there. And yeah, we had another good round. If you want to take us through the pairings here.
All right. Well, before I mess this up again, who did we defend with?
Let's see. We defended with. Find the
I
round.
believe
Find the
Dustin.
round.
I think it was me. Demons.
Okay. Yes, that looks
And
right.
they defended with guard.
Yep, Demons was our first defender. This time we did win the roll off, and they defended with guard.
Right. So again, we continue the tradition of putting Justin on layout 8 because he can handle it really well with his ignore line of sight shooting. So we wanted him to go out first. Let me check what the missions were on this one because that always was a determining factor in this tournament of how we did this. Yeah, so 8 had supply drop and linchpin. I think we were like, we're fine with you. We wanted our bad matchups again to be attackers because all of these just felt they all had either had hidden supplies, purge the foe, or supply drop. All 5 missions, all 5 layouts. So it's like, okay, well, whoever is the defender needs to have a huge advantage in matchup, or they're just going to lose a 20-0.
Yeah, they're super swingy missions that.
And since Justin was doing so well, and he put on his pairings basically 10 or higher across the board, we're like, let's put out Justin first, get him his board, and hope for at least a push. And then they put out Astra Milterm. And we attacked with Dusty's Ultramarines.
I think you were the second
And
one.
probably me. Yeah, I think it was me. Because I can battle shock him and get rid of his orders. So they chose layout 4 for their Astra Milterm versus you, which makes sense, I think, to put you on an open board.
Mhm.
And you picked Scorched Earth because layout 4 had an option of hidden supplies or Scorched Earth. You don't do objectives super well, so you're just like, give me Scorched Earth. Let's make this a basic game.
Yep.
I imagine.
Exactly so. It was a game where this was the guard list that had a bunch of mortal wounds. He had the 3 Krieg Engineers squads, several Kazakh squads, and 3 of the
those
what are they
little
called?
remote controlled
Yes, the little vehicles that
Cyclops
explode. The
demolition
Cyclops
vehicles.
demolition vehicles. Yes. Unfortunately, so we talked about this. His list was built to deal with Victrix, which makes sense. Mortal wounds are a good way to deal with Victrix.
Okay.
Unfortunately for him, he didn't account on. Well, obviously there's the problem. He rolled a lot of ones. I think he rolled 3 or 4 ones, including one very sad situation where a merry little suicide bomber of a single jump pack intercessor charged a Cyclops vehicle to blow it up before the Victrix charged, and then it didn't blow up. It just died.
Oh, I just rolled a 1.
It just rolled a 1. So the jump pack intercessor was just kind of like, I'm alive? Shit, now what? But that game was actually a very, very fun game. There were a couple swingy little bits. He every time he activated Adorn, he killed an entire Victrix squad. It was kind of crazy. Character included, just every single time. Dorn picks off the entire squad. But he could not kill. But an entire Dorn also could not kill 4 jump pack intercessors. So it was very just one of those games. There was a squad of 5 jump pack intercessors that charged in early, killed off some Kazarkan, and then stayed in combat with the Oracle Dorn in the back corner for 3 turns because the Dorn just could not shoot its way out. And then on the 3rd turn, the one guy that was left flew away to blow up the Cyclops. Interesting game. He had a really interesting list. It was a lot of fun. Wound up being a 10-10. That's kind of what is expected in that situation of there's swingy things on both sides on a mission like Scorched. He did go second, which meant despite me being up, I think 25 points on turn 5, he still pulled it back into a 10-10 because that's how Scorched Earth works.
And Justin, you ended up playing their Space Marines, which I imagine was Victrix Guard. On layout 8, how'd that go?
Pretty standard list. Repex, Redemptor, Interceptor, outs. Then the Trix packages with Uriel. And so with this, I think he might have also had the
It's the one that had the
Kato?
Calidus.
Hey,
Oh,
Calidus.
and he did have the new Kato, the one that can join
Yeah, he had
Calgar.
new Kato with Calgar. Yeah, and so it was linchpin layout 8. They deployed in a way that he couldn't get angles turn 1 because of Be'lakor 18-inch aura. Put a Lieutenant Combi Bolter out. Put intercessors on an objective Redemptor behind his wall, so they were in relative safely. So I go first. I get second turn. I put 3 flamers, 9.1 away from his Combi Bolter, so he couldn't reactive. I made them 8-2-1. I killed the Combi Bolter to the wound and shooting, and I had Kairos shoot the intercessors on his expansion just to throw some wounds out. I killed all, and so he immediately. This is the case of mental damage, where he's like, "I have to go, and I got to go now." So he pushed his whole army at me, expecting that I didn't have the damage output to deal with it. So then, turn 2 pushes Rep X's out. He killed 3 flamers. That was it. I killed both Rep X in that turn, and then from there, the game was pretty much sealed because he had Redemptor and some Vitrix. Now the Vitrix are so dangerous, and I had to lowly kill them. That's why diff isn't huge here. I still had to play somewhat safe against the Redemptor and everything else, but he just lost resources too early. Layout 8 didn't allow him to get any cute angles to do anything. We were just in each other's face, and that was game because Be'lakor at AP4 on average 4 damage each just rips up Victrix like it's a thing. That was it. It
Yeah.
really was a pretty quick game as well.
Nice. So then going into Scrum, we had Tyranids, Astromiltrum, and Drakari versus World Eaters, Orcs, and Adeptus Sororitas. I think we thought they were going to defend with uh, World Eaters, and I think they did.
They did, yes.
They did.
Yeah. So we decided to defend with Astromiltrum, figuring Mike had a great matchup into at least 2 of the 3 things over there. And that Jason with Drakari also had pretty good matchups. He knows orcs very well. Like, I don't know if that's a great matchup for him, but he at least knows the army. And we were figuring sisters would be a pretty even matchup. And then the World Eaters, we assumed they were defending with, which they did. So so that means we ended up attacking with Drakari and Tyranids into World Eaters. They chose Tyranids, which I was a little surprised by. But he had 2 Forge Fiends in it, which makes a little bit more sense because I've got 20 Raveners on my list. Forge Fiends are really good at killing Raveners.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up picking Orcs for Mike, and that left Drakari versus Sisters. So for my World Eaters game, this was actually my hardest game of the tournament. It ended up being a 12-8 in my favor. But I played on Purge the Foe, and I went first. Both not good. But Patrick played really well. His list had 2 Forge Fiends, as I said, plus Angron, plus 2 units of Corn Berserkers with the Mo and Karn, plus some Trash and Chaos Spawn. And so my options were Purge or Terraform. I actually chose Purge because I felt Terraform could get really swingy, and based on the other matchups, I felt like I just needed to have a small win. I didn't need to try to go for a big win. And when I play Terraform, I always want to go first and like terraform the middle. But when I do that, I lose whatever I terraformed with against World Eaters. They're always going to push forward and kill whatever I put out there. And I don't want to lose my Neurolictors that early because I really like the Battle Shock tech. So I chose Purge. Ended up working out. I put out my Rupture Effects, Tyrannifex out. I had a shot on a Rhino, completely whiffed. I was like, oh well, I didn't get my first turn kill. So then he tries to push out and he kills my Von Ryan Leapers, gets his first turn kill. So I'm just kind of stalling at this point for the big turn 2. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Everything happens in turn 2. Angron comes out, whiffs on a Tyrannifex. He rolled 7 1s and 2s to wound a Tyrannifex.
Ooh, Angron. Oh no.
that Tyrannifex ends up with like 6 wounds left. Another Tyrannifex gets charged by Karn and Corn Berserkers, loses 5 Corn Berserkers to the Acid Fex Overwatch. And so that Acid Fex lives. and then 8-bound charge the other terrain effects. That one lives. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get through this with all of my terrain effects still alive. But then Mo with his 10 Corn Berserkers also charged the terrain effects, and they were going to try to kill Swarmlord afterwards. But since that terrain effects didn't die, they ended up killing the terrain effects. It explodes, kills my other terrain effects.
Oh no!
So I go from
Oh,
losing none to losing 2 on the last activation. I'm like, okay, well, that's how it should have been at the beginning anyway. I'll take it. So I have basically a full health Swarmlord, full health Angron, full Corn Berserker unit, 8 bounds, half Core Berserker unit in front of my face. I have Rapid Ingress, a whole bunch of Hyper Ravs and Trigon. This is the turn. I just bring everything in. Kill everything in the middle. He has his Forge Fiend still, kills a lot of my stuff. We ended up both scoring 12 points in the last turn with Purge the Foe. Because he held more because he went second and I killed more. And ended up being 12-8. So it was a fun game.
mhm.
But definitely a very bloody game. So then Mike had played against Orcs on layout 2. I mean, that seems pretty good for you. How'd that go?
The game went pretty well. Talking with my opponent Dan, who's a super nice guy, he was definitely the grenade eater for the team. He felt that they had, I guess their team felt they had 4 other good pairings, and he was kind of taking for the team. Which he definitely he took it into faith. I was able to go first, and the list was able to function how it was kind of designed. Shoot up the board with 3 scouting chimeras, take up all the space, and then just blast from behind a wall of screens with Dorns. And on layout 2, he couldn't hide anything. He had 2 battle wagons, a giant brick of boys with Gaz, and another big mech character um, that had to sit behind the middle piece on layout 2. Unfortunately, with the redeploy, I was able to get a Dorn to deploy right there, and then got first turn. So the Chimera and the Dorn moved up. I killed most of Gaz's boys before he got to activate. And then he moved, and I overwatched and killed more of Gaz's boys. So Gaz in that game got to kill a Chimera before he lost Gaz, the other character, and 20 boys. And at that point, we knew the game was essentially over. He picked Scorched Earth for the mission, so he was able to keep it as close as he could. He was able to get the differential point for the team, which is always good to try to bring home, at least some points. But basically, it was open board. I have guns. I got first turn. By the time he wogged, he had already lost too many assets, and the clapback just wasn't efficient enough. He was wogging to kill chimeras and Kazrakin, and that wasn't going to cut it for what he needed to have happen for him. But the game was good. It felt great to bring home a big win to help push the team to an overall win. But it was definitely the first time out of the 4 rounds that the list got to do what it was designed to do, which was get first, take up a ton of board space, and make it really hard for my opponent to interact with my tanks in the back line while I'm sticking objectives and still dealing pretty critical damage.
And then Jason, you had the game against Sisters, which most of the rest of us did not want that because there's a lot of Melta. So we appreciate you taking that. But you ended up scoring pretty good on this one, right?
Yeah, so this was a really fun game. Not only did he have some Melta, but he had quite a bit of flamers as well. So, but because of like one of the benefits of like having really fast units that can hit really hard, especially in the Sisters, it's like, oh well, I moved a weak unit out. Do you want to Overwatch this? I moved a weak unit out. Do you want to Overwatch this? And it kind of this was such a fun and complicated game because both of us had so many things that we had to think about and make decisions on at so many points in the game. It was very much like a back and forth kind of game. Vol started coming out, and I just started throwing mortals at her as fast as I possibly could because it's the only way I could deal with Vol. And he'd trade into my objectives, so I would score 5 or 10, and then I'd trade into his so that he'd score 5 or 10. So it was a very fun game, very bloody game, and it ended up being 9-11 in his favor. But yeah, it was just a lot of. This was a very, very fun game that didn't snowball in either direction. It was just like, oh, you still have things. Yeah, I do. Oh, you still have things. Yeah, I do. Okay, let's kill that. Okay. So yeah, it was very back and forth, very fun. I'd like to play it again.
All right. And yeah, that was
We
Team
did
Zero
that round
Competence.
on 63 to 37.
Yep. And so we'll go ahead and move on to round 5, the last round, where we realized right at the start where we were looking at the placings, looking at the scores, and we kind of went, oh, we actually we can podium. We lost round, but we can podium here. And we kind of had a moment during pairings of fuck it, we ball. Of just go try to get our game wins, try to push and get us over that hump into third place so we can be on the podium. We came very close. Even if we had 5-0 this round, though, we would not have podiumed. We were Jack's team ended up with 19 game wins to our 17.5, so we needed 1.5 more to catch them. But let's go ahead and talk about pairings here.
Yeah, so they had Space Marines. I think it was typical Vitrix Guard list.
Mm-hmm.
World Eaters, this time without Forge Fiends, but with the Demon Prince -1 damage instead. And then Grey Knights, pretty standard. Purifying Flame, Grey Knights. Grizzle Detachment, again, pretty standard, 3 Dorns. And then the oddball in the group, Custodes, with a whole lot of the Guardians.
Yes. So,
and 3 Land Raiders, I think.
No, this list did not have
No,
any Land Raiders.
that's
Oh,
Folger's
that was a
list.
different list. Okay.
So that's a
This was
list that
all infantry.
that's a list that I think will be a force to be reckoned with. Folger's list: triple Land Raider, 27 Guard, and Trash. This list, while also being an absolute slab of beef, those Land Raiders are pretty gosh darn important. Also, this is a different detachment. This is Lions, whereas the Land Raider one is in Talons of the Emperor.
Yes, yes. So we, looking at that list, we were like, all right, well, it's all 3 wounds. That would be great for Justin. But so would Grey Knights, because we've already seen what happens there. So we wanted to
Yeah,
keep Justin in the scrum.
Yeah,
so
because
that
I
he
also
can
do
get
well in the
the-
world leaders. I do all 3
Yeah.
of them are great matchups, so I was fine going anywhere pretty much.
Yep. So we defended with Dusty first.
Yes.
I don't remember why we didn't defend with Jason. I think this is because we were trying to go for big wins, and we're like, well, we'll just keep it for the scrum.
Yep, we literally just said we're trying to send it to get. We didn't need big wins. We just needed game wins, and
Right.
and my job was to just take whatever everyone else was worse into and try to
Yes.
get a win off of it.
That's what it was. Yep. So we put you out first. They attacked you with what? Space Marines and
It was Space Marines and I believe Custodes.
that's
either
right.
It was Custodes, yes.
And we were like, no, we want to keep Custodes for other people
yeah, and so
because
I took Space
we have
Marines.
multiple good matchups into them.
Yep, and so I took Space Marines. I took Layout 8 and resolved to have the single most boring game of all time.
Yeah. At one point, he comes over. He's like, "Hey, so it's like turn 2. And we haven't moved."
Oh, it's turn 3. we,
Turn 3.
we did not fire a gun until turn 3.
Yep. And we put you on layout 8 for that reason,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
Meanwhile, World Eaters, we attacked with me and I think Justin. So demons, and they chose me. So again, I was playing World Eaters. He put us on layout 1. Oh, that's the other reason we took layout 8, because we won the roll off, and we're like, let's not give World Eaters their layout 8.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys took layout 8. So he took the next best thing, which was layout 1.
We also didn't want
chose-
Custodes on 8. That Custodes list on 8 is actually very dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably the other reason they attacked with it. So I was like, well, I will play these guys on layout 1. So when did it break down for you guys, Dusty? When did you guys finally attack each other?
It was top of 3. believe is when the fight finally began. I think he killed one of my trash units bottom of 2, but the fight started top of 3, where we started fighting each other. But we have 3 more pairings to go through first, right? Because then we have our scrum.
That's true. So in the scrum, we
World
had
Leaders picked you.
Astromiltarum, Drakari, and Demons versus Grey Knights, Astromiltarum, and Custodes. I wasn't sure what they were going to defend with here. So I decided to defend with Jason and Drakari.
Mhm.
His best layouts were already taken, but we needed to make sure he didn't get
Custodes.
Custodes. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, Custodes would have
Because,
been difficult.
because both Mike and Justin, I think, had favorable matchups into Custodes, so we decided to go that route. So he ended up playing against Astromiltarum, and then Mike on Astromiltarum played against Grey Knights, and then we got Demons into Custodes. So I felt like I was feeling pretty good about these pairings. I felt like this laid out pretty well.
Mhm.
So now we can go
Yeah.
into the
Yeah,
game.
I'd say this.
Alright.
I'd say this matchup was won in the pairings.
Yeah,
For me, I just played World Eaters. His list was almost identical, except minus the Forge Fiends plus the Demon Prince,
and losing
and
guns
that
is a
just makes
big deal.
so much better for me.
Yeah.
Layout 1 is not as good, but I managed to make it work. I again used my acid effects to just pin down one side of the board so his Corn Berserkers couldn't come out. And I threw out one Terran effects with Rupture Cannon onto his expansion by charging some Jackals because he went first. And then, so he tried to come out with Angron on top of turn 2 and had an 8-inch charge onto that T-Fex and failed it. But Angron was in his L. He's like, oh, well, he's nice and safe in this little L in the middle of the board. But because he didn't push out with Karn, his Corn Berserkers, due to my acid effects, I was actually able to get an angle onto Angron with a teleport and Hive Guard by just putting that unit 6 inches away from his home L because there was nothing to screen it. I also just rapid ingressed everything in because there's no Forge Fiends for me to worry about. And so my entire army just went into him turn 2 and wiped out Angron, Slaughterbound, all the 8 bounds, one of the Corn Berserker units, the Demon Prince, and all he had left was Karn and the Corn Berserkers and some trash and Chaos Spawn at the end of turn 2. So then he's like, well, this game's over. So then he throws out Karn and the Corn Berserkers. And just as a big spite to him, I rolled a 12 on the number of shots with the acid effects and killed 7 of them.
Of course. Of course.
And like I said, I went into this game like I need to hurry up and finish this game because I have a Cirque du Soleil ticket for 6:30, and the round ends at 6:30, and I finished 2 hours early. So I'm like, all right, sweet, let's get out of here.
Yes.
So the next matchup was Astromiltarum versus Grey Knights on layout 4.
I'll finish talking about my game though, if that's okay, real quick.
Oh, sure, yeah, sure.
So again, we resolved. We both kind of looked at each other and went, so yeah. What are we gonna do here? Basically, I scouted my Cato Sicarius into the ruin on the left. He scouted his Cato Sicarius into the ruin on the left. I put my Gilliman towards. I went first. I put my Gilliman in the middle. He didn't have a Gilliman, so he put a Vindicator towards the middle. Again, not in the middle. We're just hiding in our ruins. We're just sitting there, hiding in ruins, doing secondaries, hiding in ruins. And then on bottom of 2, I had stretched out my Jump Pack Intercessors, both to screen out the Rapid Ingress from Uriel, to do an action in the middle, and to move block his Cato squad. And so he sent his Cato squad up to go get them. I reactive moved them backwards. That forced him to charge into pretty deep into my lines, where he was, even with a Blood Surge, was not able to escape from my Repulsor Executioners. Both of them could see him even with a max 6. He did roll the max 6, and so we had to like measure and be like, well, I checked, like this guy couldn't go all far enough, and he's like, well, shit, yeah, you're right. And so again, just from complete safety, I killed the entire squad of Victrix Guard with 2 Repulsor Executioners. And unfortunately, that was just kind of the way the match worked out. He just got a little bit unlucky when he decided to go do things, and I got a little bit lucky. For instance, in bottom of 3, bottom of 4, I had bring it down and I didn't get it. No, this was bottom of 3. I'd bring it down, I didn't get it. So I decided to keep it because he had a Vindicator on 3 wounds that was engaged with my Victrix Guard. And he had Calgar ready to charge in to kill my Calgar, and I was like, well, I can always fight on death, or maybe even he fails his battle shock, which he did. And then he goes to fall back the Vindicator, and it dies. And so I took my bring it down points, and Calgar then immediately got slaughtered by his Calgar, but fought on death and wiped out the other Calgar squad as well. And that was really the turning point, because both Calgar squads wiped each other out. And then then I had Gilliman plus my entire Uriel squad left. So both of our Kato squads are dead. Both of our Calgar squads are dead. All that's left, and one of his Vindicators is dead. So he has 1 Vindicator, and the Uriel squad are his big damage units that he still has left. And I have Gilliman, both Rep X's, and my Uriel squad. Gilliman charges in. I pump his AP up, kill the entire Kato's Uriel squad because it's Gilliman. Of course he does. He's AP 5, 4 damage. They fight on death. They kill Gilliman. He doesn't stand up. If Gilliman stood up, I think I could push for a much bigger win. But yeah, that was really just the game. If we just traded our pieces and I just had 1 more piece left at the end that let me get 5 extra points. Although he did have a pathway to make it a 10-10, which he went for, but unfortunately on his last turn he drew Recover Assets and Sabotage. And he needed to hold an objective as well because it was taken hold. So I took away. I was standing on all the middle objectives. There was absolutely no way he could hold any of them. And I had Calgar, or I had not Calgar, the single Victrix Guard that was attached to Calgar is standing on his home field. And so he sends the Gravis Captain home to kill him, but he only has 4 units left in his army. So and he has 3 that need to do actions for points. And if he fails any of these things, it's an 11-9 me. If he gets all 3, so he does both actions and kills that one guy on the home, right? Gets his home back for 5 extra points, then he gets a 10-10. And the way the math worked out is those 2 points from holding the home, even if he had advanced one of his units to go stand on the home, it still wouldn't matter because he needs all the points he can get. He needed all 11 points to make it a 10-10. And yeah, the one Victrix Guard popped his AOC button and 8 6 3-ups like an absolute champion.
Nice.
And then they tied on OC. I won the game by 1 point. It was a good one though. Of basically, like you said, Larry. We're about 20 minutes in and we're on turn 3 because we both just stood in our ruins and didn't do anything. And we're like, well, that was when I kind of took a lap and I was like, hey guys, this is a 10-10. I can't engage with him or I'm gonna lose, and he can't engage with me or he's gonna lose. So let's I know it doesn't affect any of your games, but we ain't scoring. There's going to be no differential here. This was one that was very easy to clock early on. And so, yeah, we'll go ahead and move on.
So it was Mike Astromilton versus Grey Knights. That was another close game.
Yeah, this game. So this one I went first and got the push out. I did a good job of keeping the Grey Knights primary down. And he did a good job of keeping 20 purifiers just essentially out of the game until the very end after he slowly picked apart my resources. So the primary game I had won pretty handily. He scored a bunch in secondaries, and with teleporting Grey Knights, it's really hard to keep their score down, especially when they have bottom of turn. So he was able to keep it close. Thankfully, I was up enough on primary to keep it 11-9 to get us that important game win. But it also is one of those games where I pushed primary. I maybe could have driven and try to push for a bigger win. But once one of your teammates says they're getting a 10 and your other teammate says they got a 20-0, it was one of those, let's not be risky and risk losing a game and getting us back in the negative. We're up 20-0. Essentially we're up by 20 points. Get 10, get 11, put us in a good spot for our other two teammates to get us the points to win the round. I definitely was on the more play it safe side than play for the podium side, which worked out well. The list did its job in this game. He had a hard time killing Dorns until he was able to finally get close with his dreadnoughts, but he uses interceptors really well to shoot, move, and contest an objective here or there, score a secondary here or there, and he had a bunch of stuff. A lot more than what you expect your kind of Marine army to play with. Real big moment of that game came down to he had one of his Grandmaster Dread Knights come forward with 5 wounds. And I overwatched an entire Dorn with the reroll hits of 1 and wounds of 1, put him down to 1 wound. I couldn't get the last wound through. He was able to, make a clutch Melta save. Kills my Dorn. I don't blow up. Does 5 primary that he was able to contest, where my Dorn just survives. I also felt every save he hands me, and that was another 5 points, which would have made it a 12-8. But if that Grandmaster dies, suddenly that then opens the window for pushing it, where I can get potentially a 15-5 differential. But the game itself was good. Kind of going to what Justin said, talked with my opponent, and he definitely felt like their team didn't pair well into us or match well into us. So our team comp kind of gave them some issues, and I think that reflected with how a lot of the games went.
So I see he had 2 librarians, but nothing to attach him to. Were those guys just running around solo? How did they do?
Yeah, they jumped around. They were more so action monkeys. They were really good at killing my Rough Riders, and trying to pick off the wounds from my Chimera. But more so, he had them as action monkeys, where it was just here's a however many point T5 4-up invuln dude that can just get enough damage through to justify. But he had nobody attached to him. They were just flying around.
Yeah, he did have a lot of units. So those 2 librarians, 3 interceptors, 2 razorbacks, 3 purifiers, 2 dread knights, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there was everywhere. The ability to teleport, and with that attachment, he was able to bring in the purifiers and then 6-inch deep strike. But I have to really be careful not to open up a hole behind me where he can come in 6 and then charge. So thankfully, I was able to just keep all my assets mid-board back, so he was always in front of me. And it's kind of another way why the score couldn't push, because the moment I opened up, he can definitely just pick me apart from behind, and that would have been a quick way to
He couldn't
lose.
deep strike behind you 6 inches because he had to have a purifier unit to enable that.
Yeah, no, it would have been them, and then bring in another unit 6.
Right, but the purifiers they come in out at 9 is what I meant.
Yeah, they would have been the 9, and then they give them the
Okay.
they predict our aura, so kind of like the index demons.
Yeah.
So it was kind of constantly keeping myself screened to avoid any
Gotcha.
major blunders, my home or because we were playing linchpin. So if I lose the home, then suddenly my score drops by a chunk of points. But yeah, so that was the game. Great guy. He knew how to play well. He said he had repped into Grizzle Company a ton of times, and so it was good to get the win there. And I think overall the list did what I was hoping it would do.
Cool. Then we had Jason Drakari versus Grizzled.
Yeah, this was a really fun game. So this was Scorched Earth. I went first, which is not preferred.
And it's layout 6.
And it's layout 6, which is definitely not preferred for Drakari versus Esther Militarum, because there's just a big open hole in the middle of the table. So I went first. I scored points, just kept everything hidden, and just kind of waited to see how he was going to play the game. He pushed all of his tanks forward to objectives just turn 1, without really much to shoot at.
Just totally disrespecting your shooting.
Yeah, just going. I'm gonna live through you. Come at me. I have flamers. You don't want to get hit by flamers. I go, okay. I do have shooting though. So I had 2 units of Haywire, 1 unit of Dark Lances, and I had already lost my small unit of bikes, but I still had my big unit of bikes that had 2 Heat Lances in it. So I went, okay, this could be a very good turn. I pop all my scourges out, find angles where I can't, get Overwatch at, but are within 24 for the haywire, and then fling the bikes up, send some trash unit of witches out to contest an objective or hold an objective after I kill the tank on it. He had a big unit, a guard, not guard of they're not cultists. The guard version of cultists. I'm blanking.
Guardsman?
Catachans.
Catachan?
Yeah, thank you. That was just just on the other side of his expansion. And I was like, okay, I'll send 5 witches in there, just start kind of denting that, so when it comes up Lilith's unit, it just picks up the entire thing. So I set up all my shooting. I have 2 pain tokens. I spend my first one. I get it back. I'm like, fantastic. I get 7 hits on my haywire and no wounds. I'm like, okay, that was bad. Spend the pain token again. Get it back. 7 hit. This time it was only 6 hits with my haywire. No wounds. I'm like, okay, then now it's getting real bad. Dark Lance's shoot hit a Dorn for 6 damage. I'm like, okay, that was something. It was not okay. Heat Lance's shoot. I have the +1 ballistic skill drug because I rolled it. Just happened to be. I was like, yes, that's great for this turn. I'm gonna shoot. I miss with one of them. Don't wound with the other one. So I'm like, great. I just whiffed my entire turn. I threw a grenade out just to okay, well maybe this turn won't be a total loss. And I dealt 4 wounds to his Hellhound and backed my scourges back up and said, "Well, that's my turn, good sir," and scored my secondary points.
It's a rough turn.
Yeah. So then he went and he ran one Dorn just away. The damaged Dorn, he just ran it away to look down the long angle, shot a Venom, not a big deal. The other Dorn was like, okay, well, you shot me with bikes. Well, I'm going to shoot your bikes. He only killed 2 of them. He picked up my small little chaff units, sent the Hellhound a little deeper in to say, hey, don't come out. And I go, oh, okay. Then my next turn, the Scourges pop back out, kill the Hellhound, kill the other Flamer tank, the 2 Heatlands bikes that I still had left moved even closer to that Dorn and said, all right, there's no way we miss this time. Darkland Scourges join those Heat Lances and bring it down to 3 wounds left. So all in all, he was down on tanks. He had infantry and a big unit of Rough Riders left. And then I staged my Hellions so that they could start making an impact on 4 and 5. 4, he inches closer to me, kills everything that I basically gave him. So it was the 6-man unit of bikes, a Venom, another unit of witches. I'm like, okay, that's all still chaff. It's fine. And then turn 4, I sprint to his home objective, kill what's on it, steal it. But it just didn't matter at the end because there was always 2 he held 2 objectives for all of 1 turn, and in the last turn he scored 15. So it was very much just this wet noodle fight back and forth, and then the game ended. It was a lot of fun, but
So that ended
neither
up
one
being
of
a
us.
12-8, which is basically a push when it comes to teams.
Yeah, because it was Scorched Earth, it was a 12-8. Well, and I went first. Had I gone second, it would have been a 10-10 or a 11-9 me. But that's how it falls. So
Yeah. So we had 3 basically ties because we had 2 11s and then 1 8 turns into a wash. So then we got to Justin versus Custodes. How did that go?
Well, it's quite challenging. For one, my favorite army is Custodes, so I knew everything that he could do. We also put him on layout. We had the choice between hidden supplies and price. So Purge, I'd prefer not to play Custodies on. It's better than the alternative because then with Hidden Supplies layout 2, he can sit in the L and score primary. He did Purge. Every objectives in the open. Like we said, his list was a bunch of art on foot. One had a Blade Champ. He had a Warden with a Blade Champ, and 2 Terminators with the Terminator Blade Captain and the Smash. Basically, the Smash Captain, damage 4, strength 12, 1, and then a couple of Sisters and Drax. So, like, fairly standard Lions list. The challenge that he had, I went first. He had to keep half his army up in the air. He couldn't keep most of them in the board because I'd be able to get angles. And I just did what scintillating is meant to do. So this was probably displayed the power of the detachment more than anything else because I was able to pre-measure everywhere he could go, where he could make sure that there was 2 levels of screening in front of each chicken. So one would screen the objective so he couldn't 9-inch deep strike. The other would screen the bird in case he got past that one and then tried to melee me. The other ones would accept it. I would trade a trash piece to shoot him in cover and start breaking things down. And then I also have Kairos killing things because Kairos is still flat 3. And yes, he's on 3-ups, but every 2 he loses a guy. And so that's basically how the match went. I made him pop his Warden up turn 1 just because, and I traded a little trash unit for it. A Kairos killed a couple Custodies in cover, and then he had to switch them out. And I think I still killed 1 or 2 Wardens. You can do the 4 pain. And then he never got the whole primary outside of his whole game. He couldn't stand an objective, could barely deny me. It was just my shooting was too strong into him, and he was table turn 4. It was honestly, I don't know what he was supposed to do. He could have full sent our entire army on the board, advance the entire army at me, and just keep going and hope it works. But my profiles were too good. I could puppeteer into him. I also had the Neverblade chicken, which is flat 3 with 9 attacks. So, like, that chicken, I rapided up. I shot and killed 3 Custodies, charged, and killed the other 3. So I killed 2 squads that were wounded, 1 chicken through melee. And that was it. And the Terminator had to deal with that chicken in his own backfield. So, and he didn't kill it, but even if he did, I don't care because those Terminators would never matter if the game. And yeah, great guy, fun opponent. Nothing you can really do here but roll 4-ups. And when I'm handing you 7, 8 saves, you're losing 3 to 4 Custodies an activation. And then at that point, I was able to disrespect him points and just throw all my stuff. He couldn't deal with it. And that was kind of the game. You feel a little bit bad, but that's how the pairings went. They had 2 nearly impossible matchups into scintillating with Grey Knights and Custodies based on the pairings.
Yep.
But yeah,
We made sure they stayed in the scrum. I think they should have defended more than one of those, to be honest, but I don't know.
I do think they defend probably Custodies. Grey Knights has a better matchup into me because at least it can do secondaries better.
Yeah.
Kind of move around the map.
And that finished us out with what was the score on that one?
18
We had 68? 68 to 32.
And so here we can see that took us to a solid 4th place finish. We are the highest ranked team that isn't Art of War.
Highest ranked team that doesn't get paid to do stuff.
Exactly. And I know you see Florida Monstars, but that is Jack Harpster's team, member of Art of War, and notorious Dodger of Justice and Retribution. He beat me very badly at Tampa 2 years ago and has dodged me at every tournament since because he's a coward. And so we will see next time we get to play them. Overall, though,
Well, hey, all the respect though for Art of War, like they obviously did really well. Both
yes,
their
of
main
course.
teams got 5-0. The only loss that Jack's team was to another Art of War team.
Yes.
So
For sure.
Very important to mention. Yes, they are all fantastic and well deserved their 1, 2, 3 finish.
And they're all super nice. I mean, most of us, because of being competitive, but anyone that runs up at a goes to a tournament, you just walk up to them and talk to them. They're happy to you. Yeah, they're great guys.
Well, all right, and that was
More
the
than
tournament.
happy to help get other people in as well. So
Yes, they're all about growing the community, as are we. If you're interested in learning about the game, you can always message any of us on Discord or anywhere else messages can be sent. And yeah, this was the Las Vegas Teams Tournament. First time they've had it back in a while. We had a great time. We're proud to be part of the launch of the National Tabletop League. Big shout out to Away Games and Frontline Gaming for putting that on. And we will see you guys at more of their events this year. I believe the next one that we're going to as the full Lobsters will be North Carolina, I believe.
Yeah,
Yep, and April.
judges did great. We love you, GD. By the way,
Yes, of
Just
course,
saying.
we love JD. All the judges there were fantastic. No rules disputes, no problems. Just all fun and great times.
Except for the one that's a Bears fan, and you know who you are.
Ooh,
It's
yeah, and that
almost
one
butthurt
Bengals
that they
fan.
graded that cheese.
I won't talk
Jeez.
about
But thank you everybody for watching. Like I said, we might have a Lobsters team in Florida at ATC Tampa at the end of February. We will see. We haven't decided on that yet, though. Otherwise, catch us next time, and have a great night, everybody.
Lobsters!
Lobsters. Good night.